Now, when I think about that, how, and you can't go into deep, complex things.
Okay.
But how do one even start? Do you need like an enormous income to start?
No.
I mean, do we need thousands of dollars to start this portfolio?
No, $25.
McDonald's costs that.
$25 a month. Some companies may ask for $50 a month. That's it. What you put in a savings account, Christmas club account, you're going to put into an investment. A saving is not an investment. It's two different things.
What's the difference?
Saving money means I'm putting the money away, and when I come back, I expect to get it. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And I expect for it to still be there, right? Investing is when I take a kernel of corn and I plant it in the ground. When I come back, I don't expect to get a kernel of corn. I expect to have a stalk. And that stalk's gonna have what? Three ears of corn on it. Well, each ear of corn has about 500 kernels. So I planted one kernel and got 1,500. That's investments. That's where the compound interest comes in. And that's what others have been doing forever. And we were saving money in a bank. The bank has a purpose. When you put money in the bank, what they give you? What kind of candy they give you? Sucker? Why do you think they give you sucker?
Oh.
What do you think the bank's doing with your money?
They invested it.
Thank you.
You can't even
So is their name on the money?
Thanks to her, my podcast.
We got it. Reaching 350 million. They tuning in.
CTR Media Network is now accepting new podcasters to join our growing network that's reaching 350 million global listeners. Have you heard? CTR Media Network offers podcast production, podcast training, distribution, and product placement. Book us for your next event or schedule an interview with CTR Media Network podcasters today. To learn more, go to ctrmedianetwork.com.
Hello, everybody. I am Dr. T&J Ramsay, the host of the Tina Ramsay Show and podcast powered by CTR Media Network. And our show motivates and empowers business owners and entrepreneurs by sharing tips, strategies, and insight for 6 to 8 figure earners. They're here to help you grow. And today we have an amazing entrepreneur in the building that we're able to interview. This amazing entrepreneur is an entrepreneur, a financial strategist, a coach, a public speaker. He has earned a BA in broadcasting journalism and mass communications from the University of South Carolina. He serves as a previous president of the University of South Carolina Black Alumni Council, and he has 8-year experience in television. He also opened his own financial services agency that focuses on preparing people to retire financially, secure, and to leave generational wealth in the event of premature death. He also served a men's ministry for colleagues for entrepreneur and financial services industry, and he is also an ordained minister and a ordained Baptist deacon, I should say, a Baptist deacon, and he is the member of the African American Leadership Council. He also began weekly studies for the men's fraternity in the local men's prison. For those who have been privileged to be under his teaching, he has the gift of taking complex matters and explaining it in such a way in simplicity. And that's why we want to bring him here today, because we're going to be speaking all about finances. And the most thing that I love the most about him, other than all his financial and educational accolades, is that he have been married to his beautiful wife for 36 years, and they have been blessed with 2 beautiful adult children. And he even have time to enjoy basketball, swimming, and movies. So who is this amazing 6-figure entrepreneur? It's none other than Lee Williams. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Listen, we have been working on this for a while, so it's just such an honor because I really look up to what you're doing. And finances, when we think about finances, most of us, we're afraid.
Yeah.
Especially being African American. That's just not something that's normal conversation in our household. We're taught to struggle, keep working till you retire and work for those bills that you have to pay every month, not necessarily to relax or to retire, but to survive. Okay, we have that kind of in our head. And so the fact that you are on this journey to help us and make it simple so we won't run away.
That's right.
I really love the way that you explained it because I had the privilege of being at an event in which you spoke to, and I was like, I never heard finances broken down like that. So Lee, when I think about your career, because your bio is very impressive, but what stood out to me is that you came from this industry as a TV producer with mass communication, dealing with broadcasting. So what made you shift from TV producer to the financial industry?
Well, I really believe it's a calling. You know, work is when you have to go do something sometimes you don't want to do. But in financial ministry, to me, it's what I was called to do. A lot of times, if you find out what bothers you more than anything else and why, one of your callings is to solve that problem. And I grew up in the projects of Spartanburg, South Carolina. And my father was hardly ever there. It was just my mom and four children. And we went through a lot. And as I got older and started seeing things, I saw a difference in how people were living. Many people were surviving, but some people were living. And I couldn't understand why are some people existing and others are living. What is the secret? What are they doing? And everybody said, go to college, get a good education, get out, get a good job. Well, at that time, I was at Dorman High School in Spartanburg, and I was not going to college. You know, for religious reasons at that time, I was not going to college. I actually got a job with Southern Bell. And I was working with Southern Bell and doing well, making about $18,000 a year back in 1979, right out of high school. I was excited. And I had people say, you need to go to college, get a good education, get out, get a good job. I said, I got a good education. I went to Dorman. I got a good job. I work at Southern Bell. They said, no. So I ended up going to college, you know, went to USC Spartanburg and then transferred to Columbia, USC. Major was broadcast journalism. So I worked at WSPA in Spartanburg and started off as actually a executive producer. My job was to look at now I don't speak that way now, but my job was to look at the language and make sure the grammar was correct and make sure the anchors were reading it the right way and putting the punctuation everywhere. And one day there was a fire and there was no one to cover it. So they said, can you work a camera? Well, I had a Polaroid at the house. You know what I mean? I said, yeah, I can work a camera. So I went out and shot it. Video came back green, like the Hulk. And they said, did you white balance it? Yeah. And then he said, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Come on the weekends and I'm going to teach you how to be a photographer. So then I became an editor and then became a photographer. Came to Columbia, worked at WIS TV, Channel 10, as a photographer, and then eventually became a field producer. But we were doing a story. And the story was about wealth and the disparity, the difference between African Americans and Caucasians. And when I saw that, I just couldn't believe that they made that much more money than we did. And why didn't we know about this? Why is everyone not working on being an entrepreneur? And that's when I said, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to learn how to make money, learn how to save money. And it's not about you, it's about teaching others. And that's when I wanted to give back. And from that, my next business sort of blossomed.
And so you said in 1979, you had a really good job to think about making $18,000 in the 70s. So when the individual was telling you need to have education and more, you were like, what?
Yeah.
Okay. And so what eventually, after you heard that story, it triggered something in you to say, okay, now I know it's a disparity between African Americans and Caucasians.
Right.
And I don't want to be a statistic anymore. So what am I going to do? So from that point on, did you know how you was going to change it?
No.
Did you have anybody that you could talk to?
Not at that time. Okay. Not at that time. No. But the things, you know, how God does it, he begins to open up doors. Mm-hmm. And so what had happened was the guy I was working with at WIS TV, we had done some projects and the company had made a lot of money. And I saw the figures. And so I went and asked for a raise. And thank God they said no. Not just no, but they said no. And it was like, I worked overtime. I've been loyal. I've done everything you've asked me to do. And I want to get married. All I asked for was a little raise. You got the money, but you're saying that to you, I'm not worthy. But the gentleman I was working with was white. He got a raise. And so that's what I said, you choose. And I'm not mad because it's your business, but you choose. I said, okay, no problem. And at that point, I knew I had to go. The television station of the business was, the TV station was A. And if I was going to do something on the side, that was going to be B. Well, your life begins to change when your B becomes your A. And that's sort of what happened. So in my mind, I said, if you don't care about my dreams, and then you become B to me, and I have to create my own A.
That was powerful in the fact that when I think about what actually shifted you, and it was circumstances.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was your circumstances current at that time. You were about to have a new wife.
Right.
You knew that you're going to need more income. And when marriage comes, sometimes the babies come behind. You're like, wait a minute, we need to step it up. And then when we think about a person who worked a traditional 9 to 5, which is most people.
Yes.
And it's not anything wrong with that.
No.
But when you think about, you never asked for anything, but you gave so much.
Yes.
And when you finally do have the courage,
right? Because
it takes courage to go to your employer and say, hey, can you give me a raise?
Yes.
And then they tell you an emphatic no with an exclamation point. Not a regular no, but exclamation point, I know, in-depth no. And then you hear about one of your other people that work with you. Yeah. They receive a raise. And you know the numbers. That's why it's so important, you guys, to know the numbers. Yes. To know what you're working with, because he knew the numbers. And when he saw and he asked and they said no, that moment was pivotal. Yes. Because it made you say, my B is becoming my A. Right. And so you didn't know, he didn't have it all figured out, but he knew you needed to make a shift. That's right. And so we're going to leave the 70s. Okay. We're going to go on a journey. Okay. We're going to the 80s. Okay. By this time, you start figuring things out. You found this company. You start building your financial legacy. Yes. Because now we're 30 plus years down the road and you're still doing what you started in the 80s, which is a blessing. Yes. And so what was it? Do you feel like your communication skills, all the past experience that you did with TV producing, do you think that those skills, those soft skills actually help you in the financial industry? Because it's not I feel like it's not an easy industry to kind of transition into. So do you feel that it helped? Without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. One of the things I learned in television, especially as a photographer, you always zoom in as far as you could away and you focus there and then you zoom back out. If that's the case, everything will be clear. Everything will be focused. So you start with the end in mind and then you just back it out. And so what I looked at was where I want to go and what I want to do. And I didn't want to work for someone else the rest of my life. I probably had 18 jobs before then. And I wasn't a quitter. I maxed them out. And you can tell when you go to work one day and you say, what's next? And the boss looks at you like, huh? You finished what I told you to do? And it's like, okay, it's time for me to leave because you don't have something else for me to do. Exactly. And it's okay. But I maxed out. I learned what I learned. And I knew wherever I was going to take that with me. And so when I came into to financial services, it was very easy for me to think about Jesus and how he spoke in parables and realize that one of the biggest problems is effective communication. I don't care how great of a leader you are, if you can't communicate, you're going to have problems. And since I had grown up and had experienced so many things, my people skills, I call it peopleology. The study of people. I know. It's going to be in a dictionary somewhere. The study of people, And so I began to understand that you just got to meet people where they are and give them what they don't have. And most of them is direction. And so what I did is I got a mentor at that time. I worked part-time and learned the business, understood how it worked. And then at some point I got to the point where I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to make that transition. 3 months while I was getting married.
I said, I'm ready to make that transition. My wife said, what? My fiance said, what? Her mother-in-law especially said, what? What is he doing now? And, but it was a step of faith. I knew my work ethic, and I knew that if I could work part-time and make $2,000 a month, which is $24,000. Well, I didn't finish the story. I was making $18,000 in 1979. When I started that television station, the starting salary was $13,500.
What?
Now you got to keep in mind, this was years later. So cause you remember, it's 40 years later, and I started off at $13,500. By the time I left television, I was making about $21,000. So working part-time and making $25,000, in my mind, that's 2 days a week. If I work 4 days, I'll make what? $50,000. It's math. And also it's belief. I believed in the company, what we were doing. I believe in the concept, and I believed in me, and I believe in God. So it's like, how can I fail? And so from that point, we struck out and we went after it, and it worked out.
Talking about a leap of faith, and when I think about numbers, 3 is complete.
Yes.
When you think about 3, and so 3 months before you're married,
yes,
you made all these pivotal moves that really propelled you. And it seems as if when I speak to all the different entrepreneurs,
yes,
they took some sort of leap of faith, something that was, many people would say, a little radical,
right?
Like, should you do that? Is that really logical? But that move shaped your whole life and changed the trajectory of your family. Yes. And so when I think about your leadership, the type of leadership that it would take to do that, and then you having the experience of being an effective communicator, I see that you have, you was a national sales director, and also you with the African American Council, the Leadership Council. So how would you use that experience and leverage that in order to impact the people that you are now helping in the financial industry?
Well, you've said it. Everybody needs a trainer. See, if you want to lose weight and you're not losing weight, you probably don't have a trainer. You don't have the direction, and you don't know exactly what to do. So when it comes to money, many people make emotional decisions. But money is not emotional, so you shouldn't make emotional decisions. We've discovered that with your own money, you'll make emotional decisions, but with other people's, you won't. So what it comes down to is you bring me your problems and I'll show you how to solve it. Because it's not emotional. It's math. It's just simply putting the dots where they need to be and showing you how to follow the directions to get it done. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense.
And so when that happens, you feel better. The confidence is up. And now you're ready for the what? Next challenge. So we set it up so you have wins, little wins along the way. So when it comes time to the end, it's not a question that you're going to win because you've been winning the entire time. Like a basketball game. If you scored every quarter, if you're scoring points the entire time, even though the other team is scoring, if you're scoring more, you're going to win the game. And in life, you're not competing with anyone else. You compete with yourself. So the key is, how do I get better? How do I get better? What am I after? And most people, if they knew what they wanted, they could get it, but they don't know what they want. And so some of the things we do, we help people with dreams. We help people with their vision. And we sort of show them how to map it out, make it simple, and walk it out.
And you know what? Having a trainer, it can teach you the right questions to ask.
Yes.
Because many times as entrepreneurs or as a regular person that's working 9 to 5 that just want some sustainability, a stable financial future for their family, you just don't know what to ask.
Yes.
And so having somebody that is not emotionally attached, because I never thought about money being an emotional attachment, but it is just like food. So eye-opening, because I never really thought about it. And so when you bring someone in like you who don't have that emotional attachment to it, but that can give you the training, explain why, and make it simple so that the person who's asking for the help don't feel like they're less than they feel dumb. Because one thing, people are like, I'm going to feel dumb, even though I don't know. Don't take away my intelligence that I do have. So the fact that you can make it really simple and then be able to have those small wins to build that confidence that you already know, hey, I just need to keep going.
Yes.
If I Keep going by faith. So when I think about all the different things that you do, your leadership, your impact, your educational background, how you had to take that leap of faith, I hear and I see that you are a strong man of faith to do some of the things that you did.
Yes.
And to do it on the time stamp that you did it right before you getting married and all this other stuff, and seeing everything work out 30 plus years later, still doing it, still thriving. But dealing with the community, community involvement, because you make sure that even though you are a family man,